Oakley Hockey is back and they have been kind enough to send me two of their new range to review. So here I've got the Revilo Low and the Revilo Pro sticks. Now these sticks are very similar, both have an extreme low bow shape, both have a 90% carbon composition, both sticks have an EVA foam underhandle to absorb shocks when hitting, but they are not the same stick. Both sticks do feature an extreme low bow shape, but the Pro has a 24.5mm bow 200mm from the head of the stick, whereas the Low has a slightly lower bend, with it being closer to 25mm at 200mm up from the head of the stick. Both sticks do feature a groove in the shaft, but the Low has a much deeper groove than the Pro, which has a very subtle grooving just to help guide the ball down the stick. Both sticks do feature a white face, but the white face on the low bow is specifically designed to disguise the ball when drag flicking. The Pro bow that I got weighs in at 517 grams and has a balance point 40 centimeters up from the head of the stick, while the low bow is 524 grams but has a balance point 41 centimeters from the head of the stick. While these sticks both feature an extreme low bow shape, the head of the Low is actually slightly thinner, just due to the shaping of the stick, making it a little bit easier for it to get under the ball. When it comes to feel on the ball, both of these sticks have an electric feel. Because of that high carbon composition, you can feel the second the ball hits the head of the stick, as it transfers all that feeling up into your hands so you know exactly where the ball is. Because these are high carbon sticks, I would say the touch can be unforgiving. As long as you've got soft hands and can cushion the ball upon receive, they are fantastic for trapping it. Because of that electric feel, you know the second the ball hits the head of the stick. Both sticks do also have a touch compound on the face, which helps to take any spin off the ball and helps to get it under control. When it comes to dribbling, the Low is absolutely fantastic. The thin shape means you can get under the ball and lift it to do 3D skills with such ease. It's just great for taking players on one-on-one, but also because of the shaping of the stick, it's great for doing long drags, throwing the ball out onto your reverse and getting it under control. The Pro I found had a really nice balance when dribbling. Because it's got that lower weight and slightly lower balance point, the stick was really nicely balanced for moving the ball around, and I felt confident whenever the ball was on the head of the stick. Now, it might just be in my head, but I also felt like because the stick has a slightly thicker head, it did a lot better at riding through heavy challenges, allowing me to carry the ball through defenders as they dangled sticks in as I was beating them with stick skills. Because the head is a little bit thicker, it was a little bit more difficult to execute 3D skills, but again, it is still an extreme low bow stick, so it was still pretty easy to get under the ball to beat a player in the air. When it came to hitting, both sticks having that high carbon composition means that they have excellent power transfer. So as much power as you put through the swing is passed onto the ball, and you can absolutely fire the ball into the corners of the goal with ease. When it came to shooting, I think the Pro was my favorite of the two, just because of that slightly lower bow on the Low, meaning it was a bit easier to get under the ball and fire it high. It also meant with that extreme power transfer, if you got under the ball a little bit too much, it was very easy to fire over the top of the goal. The subtle difference in the bow with the Pro stick, I found made it much easier to keep the ball under control and fire it into the top corner more consistently. I also think because of the head of the stick being a bit thicker, I felt like there was more material going through the ball. It gave me a lot more confidence when hitting the ball, and it just led to a higher consistency when I was shooting or hitting long passes to teammates. I also found that the subtler groove made it much nicer for slapping the ball. I could always find a sweet spot. I could always hit the ball accurately and with a great deal of power to a teammate, perfectly flat to the pitch. I never had to worry about it bobbling, even though it does technically have a groove in the shaft. The Low, on the other hand, while it did have excellent power and, as I've mentioned, was very easy to get under the ball, so if I was shooting and wanted to fire it into the roof of the net, it was fantastic. I could hit the ball flat along the ground still very consistently. But like I say, it just has that slightly more aggressive bow, meaning that it's a bit easier to get under the ball and you have to be a bit more alert when shooting to make sure that you keep it under control and fire it under the crossbar. In terms of slapping, I found that because of the placement of the groove, you wanted to slap a bit lower down the stick, so hitting consistently a bit lower down meant that I was confident in giving slap passes still, but it was something I had to be aware of. The groove does, however, mean it is much better for playing slider passes. You could whip the ball down the stick to add deception to a slap pass and thread the ball through to a teammate behind the defensive line. But if you did catch the ball higher up the shaft in the groove, it would cause the ball to bobble, and that just was not a very nice pass for a teammate to receive. Again, when it came to reverses, these are high carbon sticks. They both had amazing power transfer and could absolutely fire tomahawks into the corners of the net with a great deal of ease. Because of the profile of these sticks, both featuring a groove in the shaft, they both have slightly built up reverse stick edges. I think just because of the groove taking up some of the internals of the shaft, it forces the edge of the stick to be a bit thicker. Because of that, the tomahawking edge was really consistent, and I really enjoyed using these sticks to take on reverse stick shots. They gave me a huge amount of confidence in the amount of control that I had. So they're not too thick that you can't get under the ball and fire it into the roof of the net, but they're also not thin enough that you can accidentally fire the ball over the net or over the fence. I would say the Pro is my preference. Again, it is just slightly thicker, and it gives me a bit more confidence in hitting the ball flat. So I was confidently using the stick to play reverse stick passes down the line or firing the ball across the goal to teammates for tap-ins as I drove down the left-hand baseline. Both these sticks being extreme low bow profiles, flicking is obviously something they're very good at. The Pro does have a slightly thicker head, so it's a little bit more difficult to get under the ball with the Pro stick. But once you have the ball up on the head of the stick, the grip from the touch compound keeps the ball under control, and you can confidently fire it into any corner of the goal, or if you want to play just a lifted pass through to a teammate, it's fantastic for that as well. Once the ball is on the head of the stick, you can roll the ball up to make use of the shallow groove on the shaft to add a little bit extra power. And again, because of the grip compound on the head of the stick, it gets the ball back under control, and you can confidently push the head of the stick through the ball to give you an accurate flicked pass, shot, or whatever you're wanting to do with it. The Pro is outshone though when it comes to the low bow. The shaping of the head means it's effortless to get under the ball, and again, similar to the Pro, the touch compound is fantastic. So once the ball is up on the head of the stick, you have a great deal of confidence in pushing through the ball, and you know it's going to go accurately to wherever you want to fire it. Because of the more aggressive low bow and the deeper groove in the shaft as well, it's so much easier to generate power with this stick when flicking. You can roll the ball up into the groove and whip through with so much confidence because you know it's going to generate a great deal of power. Again, both sticks having a white face does mean it's a little bit harder to read the ball off it as well when you are pushing and flicking shots at goal. When it comes to overheads, again, it's the low that really stands out. The ability to move the ball up onto the shaft of the stick, whip through and generate a huge amount of power with the slightly bigger bow and the deeper groove in the shaft means that you can effortlessly throw the ball half pitch or even longer accurately to a teammate. And it gives you so much confidence when you're throwing overheads that you can confidently play them under pressure because you know that you've got the distance and the accuracy from this stick as long as you've got a good technique. Now, although the low is better, the Pro is no slouch. You can still throw the ball half pitch with this stick. It just requires a bit more effort from you as a player to get the ball up the stick into the shaft, and you have to really utilize every millimeter of that bow to generate the same amount of power as you can the low. But it still gives me a great deal of confidence in the accuracy and being able to drop it onto a teammate's stick. Because of the grippy touch compound as well with both sticks, you can add spin onto the ball, so you can get it to bounce sharply to the right if you want to, but as long as you accelerate the head of the stick straight through the ball, it will bounce straight out. When it comes to drag flicking, the Pro is a very nice stick. The touch compound is great for getting the ball under control when the trap is not perfect, and the bow is big enough that you can whip through the ball, and using every millimeter of that bow again, you can generate a huge amount of power. And the touch compound on the head holds the ball up just for a split second and gives you confidence in your accuracy firing the ball into the corners of the goal. It does feature a white face, so it does add a little bit of deception as well, to keep the goalkeeper guessing as to where you're going to try and put the ball when you're shooting. It does get clearly outshone by the Low, again when it comes to drag flicking. So this stick is designed from the ground up to be a drag flicking stick. It's got the aggressive low bow, it's got the big groove on the shaft, it's got the white face to add deception. It's so nice to pick the ball up with this stick, just with the balancing of it. The weight being a bit higher up the stick, but having a bigger overall weight, it gives it a nice balance of picking up the ball. You don't feel like the head of the stick is too light when you pick the ball up, but you also don't feel like you're dragging the head of a sledgehammer through the back of the ball. The shaping is really nice. It helps guide the ball up into the shaft, so you can make use of that groove to really whip through and accelerate the ball back down the stick and generate a huge amount of power. And then the touch compound on the head of the stick is, again, fantastic. It holds the ball up just enough without stopping it and killing any speed you've generated, but just getting it back under control so you can accurately fire the ball into the corners of the goal. I've taken this stick into several games where I've been able to score, and I've always been confident coming off the top of the D with a drag flick with this stick that I'm going to get a result. So in summary, these two sticks are fantastic. It's great to see Oakley back again after a little hiatus that they've had. The Pro is an extreme low bow stick. It's a great kind of all-rounder low bow stick. The groove is not too intrusive, so you can still use it as if it had a smooth face, but with that little extra rail edge, so that you are confident when you're whipping through the ball that the ball is going to stay glued to the face of the stick. It's going to be held down, it's not going to fly over the top, and it gives you that little bit of extra power when it comes to drag flicking, when it comes to playing slider passes or any flicked passes. The white face gives you a little bit of extra deception when you're taking on those shots at goal, and the power transfer is fantastic when it comes to shooting. I really liked using this stick. It gave me a lot of confidence when taking on shots, both open and reverse stick, knowing that I had that power, and it had a massive sweet spot for shooting, and it had a really nice thick reverse edge. So it gave me confidence that I was always going to be under control when I was playing tomahawks. But the Low is fundamentally designed for drag flicking. The shaping of the stick, the white face, and the high carbon composition just means that you have so much power at your disposal when it comes to drag flicking, hitting, or tomahawking. I really enjoyed this stick. I actually used it as my main stick for the last kind of month of the season, and it gave me huge levels of confidence when it came to getting the ball under control, dribbling, or shooting. The electric feel of both sticks was fantastic for dribbling, but the shaping of this one I think really suited me personally in getting the ball under control and beating players and making space for shots or winning short corners. So since Oakley Hockey has returned, they have been kind enough to give me a discount code as well, so I will put a link in the description of this video. It will save you 20% across their entire range, and these two sticks, as I say, are excellent. I think if you are a drag flicker, you've really got to try this stick out. And if you are just a player who likes to use a low bow in terms of the general game, the Pro bow is definitely one to try out. it gives you amazing confidence, and it's so well rounded to every element of the game. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what I'm doing with Boss F Hockey, join the Boss F Hockey Club. You can join on Patreon or on my website. It starts as a free membership, or you can pay a little bit more to help support further. It helps me run more giveaways, it helps me do more reviews. If you go to bossfhockey.com as well, I also have merch. I have hoodies, I have t-shirts, I have hats, I have grips, everything that you need to play hockey, and doing so helps support me a little bit, and again, helps me keep the site running.